we're talking about the VA mortgage, the most common question I get is if someone meets the criteria in order to use the VA benefits. If you've gone online and done a search for VA mortgage, you've likely seen a bunch of advertisements sending you to links for mortgage calculators. The reality is these for-profit entities have spent money wanting to capture your information in order to advertise to you and simply provide you a mortgage calculator to try and calculate how much you qualify for, not knowing if you actually qualify first. So before you dive into how much you could possibly qualify for, let's find out if you actually qualify first. There are many scenarios in which you can qualify for a VA mortgage. However, if you've received a dishonorable discharge, unfortunately, you are disqualified from using the benefits. And then another common question I get is if you are a child of a military veteran, unfortunately, you are unable to use the VA loan as well. It is meant for the active military, the veteran, or the spouse. The criteria required in order to use the VA benefit for mortgage approval depends on when you served in the military. Whether you're an active duty service member, a separated veteran, in the National Guard, in the reserves, or a surviving spouse, the approval criteria will depend on when you served. On top of that, if you were discharged from the military due to a service-connected disability, a medical condition, a reduction in force, an early out, or a hardship, you still may qualify for the VA benefits. Let's go ahead and dive a little deeper into the VA loan. When you utilize the VA loan, you may be required to pay the VA funding fee, and that percentage is going to vary based on whether it's your first use or a subsequent use. However, if you have a service-connected disability and receive at least 10% disability through the VA, you'll be exempt from the VA funding fee. Now, if it's your first time, it's around 2.15%. For those of you that have utilized the VA loan already and have increased disability above 10% since then, you may be eligible for a funding fee refund. The key being that your disability be retroactive to before you got your VA loan. But if you're not exempt from the VA funding fee, you can either have it financed into the loan amount or pay it at the closing table. When we start to look at the differences between the VA loan, an FHA loan, and a conventional mortgage, the big perk of a VA loan is that you can get approved with higher debt-to-income ratios, with the caveat being that your income after your expenses has to be above the VA requirement based on the size of your family and where you're at in the country. Other benefits to the VA loan in comparison to an FHA loan or a conventional mortgage is that there's no down payment required. On top of that, you don't have any mortgage insurance. And then contrary to what you might have heard from a friend or looked online, that you can actually have two VA loans. Based on the percentage of eligibility you have left, you can get a second VA loan, but it does have to be your primary residence. There's a calculation that's made based on the percentage of eligibility that you have left to determine the down payment required on a second VA loan. But it still ends up being less expensive than a FHA or conventional mortgage. So I've worked in the VA system myself as a registered nurse, and I understand that things don't move the fastest. However, contrary to what you may have heard, VA loans do not take longer. So if you're hearing that it takes 45 days, it's simply not true. And VA loans are not more difficult. The main difference between a VA loan, an FHA loan, and a conventional mortgage when it comes to underwriting is that a termite inspection is required when doing the appraisal. I pride myself on structuring mortgage applications so that we do all the heavy lifting up front and the transaction is smooth. In the description below, you'll see a link to a mortgage checklist that shows you all the documents required in order for your application. On my website at orrypounders.com, you can click on the contact button in order to set up an appointment with me. And I've also provided an online application link by simply clicking the Apply Now button. If you prefer, you can complete the whole process online, and it doesn't matter where you're at in the country. If you have any particular questions for your specific scenario, feel free to reach me at orrypounders.com, and I'd be happy to help you.